We have a benchmark of $82 per barrel as at now in the oil markets, and the benchmark as contained in the document presented to us by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is $77.96 per barrel. Secondly, the output projection is 1.780 millions per day, compared to what we had in 2023. Where are we? The two main issues that concerns you, how achievable are they? And what is your take as the Group Managing Director of NNPC?
We do not have any control over the market. It is dependent on the global demand and supply, which to a large extent, which forms the basis of all estimates that you see, including the one that before you. Around pricing is seen what will be the supply, what will be the demand. And as all estimates, there are always scientific basis for those estimates. The estimates that is provided to the National Assembly by Mr. President, because it's averages, so you do not look at daily prices in oil, you look at averages. And we think very strongly that these prices are realistic within 2024.
Just released is 1.5 million barrels, and we are budgeting 1.780. What's your take? Number two, how much have you declared as dividend January to date?
Just this morning, there are reports that are very encouraging reports that to the extent that the NNPC, through Agbami, has started supplying crude to the Dangote refinery. Now, will this have any impact on your production capacity?
Mr. President, after his inauguration, boldly removed the fuel subsidy. It was a necessary and bold decision. After a month of that, we are told that over 1 trillion was saved from that. Nigerians, and even myself, is now asking, is about 5 months into, or 4 months into the removal of subsidy. The question now is, where is the money? To expatiate so that Nigerians will understand. Everybody supported the bold decision of Mr. President to remove the subsidy. What is going to be the benefit to Nigerians for taking this action? And now Nigerians are looking solely up to NNPC for the business, or to lead the business of petroleum product supply to them.
The OPEC production limitation, does it have to do with also the conditions? What is NNPC doing to sustain that bold step? Recently, we set up a committee on this issue of term maintenance, which has become a daily pipe for Nigerian economy. After that committee was set up, we had from different refineries that Port Harcourt element will start production in March, Warri will start in February, Kaduna will start in maybe April. Are these reports true, or just an attempt to fool Nigerians?
The 674 billion on dividend, you say we made in 2021. Look at this figure. 674 is barely $500 million for a company we all depend on. When you look at this figure, the only thing I can conclude is that there's something wrong with our organization or our dream. Because my expectation is that we should be in multiple of this figure, far, far above what we are talking about. So the question I will have is that, how do you rejig your organization to be at par with your peer group internationally?
When is NNPCL Nigeria Limited coming to the capital market? When will it be listed in Nigerian stock? GMD, do you foresee the price of the pump price coming down in the nearest future, vis-a-vis the rumors that NNPC also wants to increase the pump price?
To start dreaming before you can get result of the dreams. Mr. Chairman, you are aware that reforms in the oil and gas sector started in year 2000. It wasn't delivered until 2021, 21 years after start. Petrobras and Aramco were in the situation we were in 2021, perhaps longer than 16 to 17 years. We did not have a national oil company that is a commercially driven company. It was the bold decision of this National Assembly that created the NNPC Limited, which I also referred you to the fact that in 2018, when we were a corporation, we lost 803 billion naira. So the dream started in 2021. And it's showing up, we know that we are the largest company in Africa. We understand there's huge capital in our hands. But you cannot make profit when you don't operate commercially. When you do things that you should never do. When you are not run as a business. When there is no consequence for no performance. But today, by virtue of the PIA and the Company and Allied Matters Act, actually this company can be shut down if it declares 3 years of consistent losses. This is a difference, Mr. Chairman. And this pushes us to bring the reforms on the table. Seeing the difference, because when you lose money. And you have to cover this, and we're proud that today we have gone back to a position where we can say, yes, this company is making money. It's always a process of recovery until you come to the big position that you want to be. And that is why in 2023 alone, Mr. Chairman, up till October, combination of taxes and royalties, this company contributed 4.445 trillion naira as direct revenues into the federation.
In
2023 alone, up to October.
Combination of taxes, royalty,
and dividends. And not only that, Mr. Chairman, and this is connected clearly to the questions around subsidy removal, which my brother, distinguished Senator Dume, referred to. When you remove subsidy, where is the money? As a matter of fact, Mr. Chairman, if Mr. President didn't make that bold decision, and I've said this in very many fora, this company would have liquidated by the end of June because we were going into negative cash flow. Because the combination of our taxes and royalty obligations versus the burden of subsidy was not enough to cover this. Therefore, you have to take money from your cost savings and your other cash flows to continue to provide the subsidy. And what Mr. President did was to terminate that. So that becomes zero. And therefore, you start collecting your taxes and royalties as any company is doing. And that is why we mentioned that the result of subsidy removal, first and foremost, is saving that cost that would have been there, that you would have borrowed to do. The only way to sustain it beyond June this year was to borrow. There's no other way of doing it. Because the company's cash flow can no longer carry it. As you are aware, Mr. Chairman, there was an Appropriation Act up to June that provided for 3.5 trillion naira for subsidy. Not a single dollar was given to the NNPC. There's this misunderstanding that somebody is writing check to NNPC. We did not receive a kobo throughout 2023 to carry the subsidy burden. The same thing was true in 2022. Yes, you can make budgets, you can make provisions, but you must provide cash backing, and that was not there in 2022, and it was not provided in 2023. And that is why we are taking NNPC's cash flow as a private company, and this is because the law said so. The PIS said that this company must guarantee energy security. It's a very, very broad provision that says that under any circumstance, you must do everything possible to provide energy security, and that's what we did. And we're happy that we're out of this. And it's already showing up. I do not have the numbers, but because you have restored payment of taxes and royalties and dividends, you may have seen the increased provisions at FAC since the coming of this government. I'm sure you recall this, Mr. Chairman. And that is why the boldness to make the provisions for 2024, the estimates for 2024 are born out of the fact that there are some costs, as you may know, Mr. Chairman, and in some months, the subsidy values were crossing 500 billion in a month. It was not sustainable. We can't pay for it. And of course, many things come with it. And we have said it over and over, there are two things you can't control. Once you sell your product below market, you will have issues. There will be a lot of bypasses, all manners of wrongdoings, which you cannot control anywhere you have an arbitrage environment. And that is why when the subsidy was removed, evacuation and not consumption, I'm not sure we have credible data for national consumption. I keep saying this over and over. We do not have credible data for petroleum PMS consumption in the country because we do not have the infrastructure to get this. But we know every liter of fuel that leaves leave depots. And before June 1st, we are doing up to 66.7 million liters of evacuation. This has collateral impact on the value of subsidy. And today, we are down to 45 million liters. That means reduction of 30% of whatever would have been the subsidy, and also reduction in all manners of infractions, including cross-border smuggling. Everything has gone down. And we're already seeing the market adjusting, people adjusting their consumptions, alternatives are coming up. Government is bringing up bold processes of ensuring that cheaper cooking fuel is provided, CNG, automobile fuel, and all this would not have happened if the subsidy is removed. So this is a collateral value that it has created. Does it come with pains? Yes, I agree completely. Once prices go up, it does create issues, including potential impact on inflation. But as we have also seen from current data, this first went up, but it's also coming down. And therefore, there is substantial value in the removal of such. So coming back to the OPEC quota, sir. OPEC quota for Nigeria is for crude only of 1.5 million barrels per day. It does not include the condensates. And I do think that at this level, including natural declines, and also new production coming up next year, and the very fact that we make up to 250 to 300,000 barrels of condensate, we will be in comfortable levels. So I do not see any challenge with the OPEC quota. What's NNPC doing to subsidize? Today we charge no subsidy, and I repeat this, we charge no subsidy to the Federation. So it is still correct and clear that there's no burden on the Federation with respect to, so we're not making any claims on the Federation. We're still selling at the market and recovering our costs, but we have the economy of scale advantage that allows us to lose in one cargo and gain on the other, but overall, we don't lose money. And that is why there's really no subsidy in place. We're not in the business of deceiving anyone, or even the Federation or Nigerians, the shareholders of this company. We are very clear that we are restoring our refineries. We are completing the rehabilitation of phase 1 of the Port Harcourt refinery. It will start in December. In the first quarter, Warri refinery will start. We never said we will start Kaduna in the first quarter. We didn't say it. What we said is that by the end of 2024, Kaduna refinery will start. This is the promise that we made. We did not say any other thing different. And when will NNPC be listed in the capital markets? For you to go to the capital market, you must be ready for the capital market. Every investor will look for return on investment and capital. And that is why you can't lose 803 billion and ask anyone to buy stake in your company. And that's why that trend has changed. And the market will see this. The law has provided that this company can be listed. The interest of this company can be listed after 24 months from the incorporation of the company. We're already approaching that pace, and this will be now the decision of shareholders to take a date. But what we are doing as management, as company, including the board of directors, is to prepare it for IPO. It means this company is becoming profitable. It has systems, it has processes, it has world-class standards. It complies with all governance requirements. Global standards, perhaps, and we probably say this, distinguished chairman, that we are the most automated enterprise in this country. And that means you have visibility of everything we are doing. Shareholders can see what we do. Our books are open, and perhaps you also may recall that we started publishing our audited financial statements of accounts, including year 2021 financial statement accounts. And we'll continue to do this. These are some of the requirements of being listed, and we know that if we go to the market today, people will buy our shares because they can see the progress, they can see the asset that we are holding. Perhaps the largest company in Africa, over $60 billion of assets in our hands, and potentially one of the fastest growing companies in our business, and people will see this benefit, and we don't see any danger. But putting a debt, I cannot tell you now, it will be decision of shareholders. And question around any potential drop in pump price of petroleum once the refineries start working. I know it's difficult to say, but refineries are not created to reduce price.
Not created to reduce pump
The
price.
first intention, what I'm trying to say, sir.
Okay.
Let me clarify, sir. Okay. When you are establishing a refinery in a country, your first objective is energy security. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yes, what I meant is that your first priority is creating energy security. Yeah. And because it is close to you, cheaper labor, cheaper transportation costs can impact the pricing of petroleum products. But many of these elements are also determined by local circumstances and conditions, which is difficult to put numbers on until you start producing. So it is possible that you can have reduction in prices once you start producing locally. But what I meant is that that's not the key objective. Our happiness is that we will produce product, we will sell it at market, we will not lose money, and this refinery will pay for itself. That's the point I'm trying to make about refineries. But I think it's very important for all producing country to be self-sufficient domestically so that you have access to local product and that you have energy security in our country. And we know that with other small initiatives that others are doing in partnership with us, and the restoration of our refineries, and the coming on stream of the Dangote refinery, we know that in 2024, this country will become a net exporter of petroleum products. And that is the meaning of energy security, and this is one thing that we must achieve as a country.
NNPC is not contributing to the Federation account. NNPC is not contributing to our reserve. Mr. MD, when will you start contributing to our reserve?
Spend the Christmas with some of your explorers trying to explore oil in Plateau State in my constituency. And I was very happy. How far? In the fractional distillation of crude oil, there are byproducts. Why are we looking for oil only? What happens to the byproduct? Sometimes back, we used to neglect gas to flare off. I know that in the fractional distillation of crude oil, we have bitumen, wax, and so on and so forth. What is happening to those ones?
Is your short-term, medium-term, long-term plan for moving away from oil in our economy to gas and other things? For instance, I know that a lot of the IOCs, they re-inject their gases back into the ground. And many, many years ago, there was a plan for, instead of the gas to be re-injected, if they are not interested in processing it, then maybe local Nigerians can actually process it. And in terms of vehicles, so many other things that we can do with our gas. I want to know what your plan is, not that we wake up one day and the cars are not running on petrol anymore, but we bought them.
There is these particular agencies of the government that have, over the years, been writing reports on oil and gas sector, putting before us some data, figures that are mind-boggling, that calls for questioning and putting up on red alert as to why we should continue to investigate this sector. And I want to have your take. What is your take on the NIT reports?
It's the same method. And so if you create any opportunity for me or any Niger Deltan, you will just be seeing us participating. Yeah. And that is why I say, bring more of the stakeholders into the discussion table so that we'll be able to do justice, legalize, and legitimize the areas that we think we'll be able to maximize, to ensure that we get maximum production. Sir, I'm talking this from point of knowledge and from one that is who believes in one Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
And also be frank with you, Mr. Chairman. The situation we have in the Niger Delta in terms of security is a calamity. And I'm happy he spoke his mind, so let me also speak my mind. You don't have this situation anywhere else in the world. And I have the misfortune of sitting in very many fora where we are asked exactly what are you doing in your country. Mr. President, to engage non-state actors to protect critical access as the last resort for a solution to a massive challenge is very abnormal, sir. It's completely abnormal. It shouldn't have been, it should have happened. Talk less of even involving communities in security of assets. It is abnormal also, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, sorry. Mr. Chairman, I didn't, withdrawn. Mr. Chairman, it's an abnormal situation. And that's why we responded abnormally. Today, and I think I can just get this for you, there are, if I remember part of it, you have over 4,800 illegal connections on our pipeline. Illegal connection. That means in some lines, within 100 kilometers of pipeline, Mr. Chairman, you will have as much as 300 insertions. That means every kilometer, you will have an insertion. And pipelines, for being what they are, if you continue this insertion, even when you seal it up, it can no longer hold the pressure that it will do. Therefore, even when you produce the oil, you cannot deliver them at the required pressure, and therefore the volume will also be lost. Today, there's no lack of intelligence. And our armed forces have done great work of it. But when you have everyone involved in infractions on the pipeline, end to end, and I don't know if anyone is from Zamfara State here, what is happening to the gold that everyone rushes, exactly this is what is happening in the Niger Delta. People are coming from all parts of the country to create their own bonfire. That's what he meant, the illegal refineries, boiling pots. And that's what distinguished Senator Benson meant, that anyone can boil. It's actually boiling. Mr. Chairman, it is why we decided that we do need local capabilities to respond to this, to support the government security agencies. By rule of engagement, there are things they can do. I'm sure you have seen what happened 2-3 days ago in Kaduna. There are things the government security agencies can't do. And I will share with you what other countries did. In some countries, they resorted to very abnormal interventions, but we can't do them here, Mr. Chairman. And that is why we have a graduated response to this. We are focusing on areas that give us the most production, and we are achieving that. And that addresses the question of Distinguished Senator Thomas, that what are you doing to have a sustained, we will contend this security. And we're already achieving that. Have we reached the peak? No. Now, do we need to have a re-engineering of the security architecture? That's what I mentioned earlier, that Mr. President has taken significant steps to restructure the engagement so that at the short term, we're able to engage everyone else that should be on the table. And this is what we are doing today, and these are also security engagement. I would like you to save me the trouble of speaking about it, because I will be disclosing the entire strategy around how this containment can do. But we are doing everything possible to include everyone that is required to ensure that we require sanity. But what is happening is really a colossal damage situation. And I know that the action that have been taken are resolving. And of course, what it does is create huge trouble for the environment. We haven't gotten to that. When we start facing the realities of what this has done to the environment, it's something else. But today, we are all focused on making sure that we restore the production. And we think what we are doing can get us to that position, which brings the issue of engaging the host communities. I also don't want to speak about it. There are things we are doing around how the host community members will take stake and interest in what we are doing, will see their interest in what we are doing to continue to help us in minimizing those impacts. And then the question around if NNPC is contributing to national reserves. You have to make the money to contribute to reserve. And that is why the conversation around increasing crude oil production is very, very fundamental. When you produce oil, you pay for your cost. You can't avoid it. And when you import petroleum product, you also need FX to pay for it. And thirdly, as NNPC, we are required to pay our taxes and royalties as anyone, and therefore those build-up will come from those payments. And increasing the reserve is not just about NNPC. We have partnership with all the multinational companies in this country. Every one of them, we collectively produce, and everybody pays his taxes and royalties, and you will see that build-up is coming up, because the requirement for us to be able to pay our taxes and royalties has now crystallized, and you will see this improvement. Because I don't want to speak to the figures, and I will engage the Minister of Finance to see the actual figures. I do not know the actual figures of today, but I know something is changing. I do not have numbers around this. And issues around oil exploration in the frontier areas, Plateau and others, by law, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission is required to engage NNPC to conduct exploration activities in the frontier basin. We are doing it in all the frontier basins today, different activities, some seismic acquisitions, some aeromagnetic surveys, some drilling activities, but all ultimately to mature them to production. What we did in Plateau is acquiring seismic data. And now you have to interpret your seismic data, see the targets that you know, and then you now start talking about going to drilling. It's really a technical process, and we are hopeful, and we believe that we won't start this except there's a prospect. Then, distinguished Senator Gerati asked a question about what are we preparing as the world is transiting. And let me also share information with you. Even by 2050, there will be total oil demand of up to 100 million barrels per day of oil equivalent in the energy mix. So oil and gas will not vanish. So oil will be bought for different purposes. It will be converted for different chemicals and different materials, but production of oil and gas will continue, but in a very cleaner way. And the countries that will survive this are those who are able to produce cheap, efficiently, and quickly to the market. And our plan is to make sure that we become a player in that space so that our cost becomes low and people will buy from us. This is the plan. But in terms of the transition itself, we are focused on gas because we are actually a gas country and we're not an oil country. It's actually a gas country with associated oil. But we have historically focused on oil production because, producing gas takes longer time, taking it to the market, and also it has lower margin. And therefore, everybody is focused on oil that comes to the table quickly, and also it has bigger margin. And everything is changing now. Gas is the transition fuel. We are focused on creating the domestic gas infrastructure. We are already delivering them. And so that ultimately this economy will spark. Gas will be available to industries to power or for combustion. And this is already work in progress. We are focused on this, and there's a massive program of government. It's called the Decade of Gas Initiative, producing the gas, converting it, transporting it. And this is already happening. I don't know if this is a proper panel to speak about the details, but I know that our focus is on gas, both domestically and also for export. As you may be aware, the Trend 7 of the NLNG is over 50% completed. So it's going to be delivered on schedule. We're already looking at Trend 8. A number of initiatives are ongoing to bring in new LNG projects, floating, and even fixed. And there's a far-fetched opportunity for this because by virtue of the PIA, the fiscal terms are good. The environment is good. And that is why people are ready to put their money into our country. But we must also resolve the issue of security because that's a key factor in business decision-making in our country. And it has a premium. Even those who agree to come would put a premium on it. And as we're able to resolve the issues of security in Niger Delta, you'll see a different environment coming up. And equity on the JV, I know Senator Benson is referring to the joint venture. When you say 60-40, yes, we have maximum of 60% in some JVs and 55% in some of the joint ventures. And it doesn't mean that you sell all the 60% and put it into your pocket. What it means is that when you produce, you contribute cash, all of us, to the JV, either by borrowing or by any means. When the production comes, you take 60% of the production. You use it to pay your cash, your contribution of the cost, and also pay your taxes and royalties, and the remainder becomes your profit, which is what I was talking about, paying dividend from our production. It's different for every company. Some businesses have higher costs, some have lower costs, but in a total basket, this is really what works out. It doesn't mean that you take 60% of all the revenues into use. And the legal framework for the PSC contract, that's the private security contracts in the Delta. Distinguished Senator, it's a commercial contract. We are not dealing with individual. We are dealing with corporate organizations. We have a clear scope of work, a method of invoicing, payment, deliveries, targets. That's in a typical contract because we're a private company. We can't do anything that is illegal. And what we have done is a puppet contract between us and the private sector. So we do not need any further framework to support this because it's already a commercial security contract arrangement, which has been, there are many security contracts across our assets, and we don't see any challenge with this. And the question around whether we adjust the production to 1.8 million, I still advise that we stay in the submissions by Mr. President. And coming back to 90 reports, and all the issues that we hear out. Yes, I'll come back to it. I will not avoid any question. Yes. The ones I can't answer, I will say it. Yes. Yes, distinguished. EITI report or 90 reports. By law, 90 is required to submit their reports to the National Assembly. And they do. And you see a number of issues historically around NNPC took $11 billion, $13 billion. You see all these figures in the media. And let me share this with you. You cannot have subsidy regime. You make appropriation as a country. You provided for subsidy 2022, 2023. You do not provide the cash. I'm running a business on your behalf, and you expect me to pay you all the money for the subsidy and still keep the subsidy. And this is really what it is. So when NIT reports come up, they will say NNPC did not remit taxes of X amount. That's correct. So if you don't know, why didn't you do it? Because the owners of the business who are supposed to refund you subsidy do not have the money to refund you the subsidy. And therefore, the reports, when they are viewed carefully, there is absolutely no obligation from NNPC. We held back nothing because you didn't pay your bill. And this is really what it is. That's why you will all see, they may be correct. They say, well, NNPC did not remit. Yes, it's correct. But they won't add the other part of it that NNPC did not receive any payment for subsidy. So what you hear all over that marketing companies receive subsidy, there's no subsidy relationship between us and any oil marketing company. So what we do is that I have fiscal obligations for taxes and royalties. You ask me to buy product and come and sell below the market. You must take the pains that comes with it. And if you can't write me a check, I have your money, I will keep it. That's really what happened. And that's the reporting part of it that doesn't come. I think it's very good to be brutally frank. And this is really, really what it is. So you can't, and I always use this example, you can't smoke cigarette and ask for the smoke. And this is really, 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 really what it is. And what's my position on the tax credit scheme? Mr. Chairman, the tax credit scheme was a child of necessity. As you know, our roads are hardly delivered. And there are road constructions, we are all from Nigeria, we all know, in all our communities. There are road projects that have lasted to 15 to 20 years, not delivered. And I can also tell you from experience, when I was recruited by NNPC in 1991, I know that there was a plan to have a dual carriageway from Benin to Kano. We know it is not there today. This is 33 years. And the key issue, and this is true of very many other roads, I don't want to mention them. For us, we have a responsibility to deliver product to all nooks and crannies of this country by requirement of the law. And sometimes, and I'm sure my brother, Distinguished Senator Ifeanyi will bail me out, that in some places in Niger State, trucks can stay for 1 week without crossing certain points. A truck will leave Lagos to Maiduguri, perhaps, you know, if you have good roads, within 24 hours, max 48 hours, you should be in Maiduguri. But sometimes trucks spend up to 10 days leaving Lagos to Maiduguri. And the key reason is the road condition of the road. We know that we cannot deliver our responsibility for energy security if we don't address the road question. And that's how NNPC saw the business opportunity to use the Executive Order 7 to provide funding for these roads so that at the end we'll deliver on our mandate for energy security and also would have contributed to providing infrastructure in our country. That's where we came in. Now, should this be continuously done? So as long as you do not have a clear plan of financing, it will be a good thing to get private entities like us to continue to fund road projects. Now, what I see today is a substantial development, and I'm not speaking for NNPC, that's why I say how I see it, I'm talking personally. I'm seeing substantial progress in our ability to pay our bills. With the Appropriation Act 2024, which is Bill 2024 before you, and the projections for revenue, I know that the plans appear very, very realistic, which means that when contractors go to site, they will not demobilize. And therefore, once we have clarity around ability to pay, you may not require the tax credit scheme. Now, back to the question around whether there is subsidy. I think I don't want to repeat myself. I said that we do not charge any subsidy to the Federation. And I will engage the Honorable Minister of Finance. I do
Are
not
you
know
sure? Honorable GMD, is that the true position?
Is the other way of saying is, am I lying?
No, I will not say you are lying. We are only trying to affirm and confirm.
Thank you very much. That's what I meant. Okay. There is no charge to the Federation account of subsidy sums from the NNPC Limited.
Correct.
Now, Project Tango, I crave your indulgence, Chairman, I would like to take this offline. It is a commercial conversation. I would like to brief the distinguished Senate in private. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Once you refine petroleum, you have all gamut of products, LPG, lubes, everything like kerosene, DPK, ATK. You sell all of them. So, distinguished Senator, we sell all of them. We will sell all of them. So nothing will be wasted. Thank you.